All right, everybody, it's time for our very first match here on the very first day of this new stage of NAL. Michael, we have two teams with a very strong set of new players. You want to talk about the rosters before we launch into the matchup?
Yeah, XSET and beastcoast both making two changes from the last stage, some really important ones. For XSET, they dropped Drip and Thomas, and I want to talk about that real quick. I want to briefly go over this because I don't think it was touched on the analyst desk. XSET got rid of their two best players from last stage and replaced them with Prod and NVK. And Prod and NVK are both very talented. I've seen both of them play plenty. I have high expectations for Prod. I know NVK can deliver. But you're taking your two best players, and that's not my opinion, that's the stats, from last stage, and you're replacing them with, potentially an upgrade, potentially a side grade. Whereas on Beast Coast, I mean, Biologic and Rudy, last stage, they had a terrible performance. I mean, they were bottom 4 both. And
it is interesting, the players, just to add in here, it is interesting the players that they removed, and sometimes the stats aren't always the full story, right?
Of course.
I didn't mean to derail you, by the way.
No, it's okay. Carry on.
I was just going to say, I mean, the new players, I think, are what will ultimately set the tempo for this match, and I think it's fair to say, as we have a community question for you that actually ties into this beautifully, is that all the eyes are going to be on these two newcomers. I think everybody can agree on that. Will NVK return to his rightful throne, or will young Alec pop off and steal it in his first game? NVK, to me, is the biggest question mark in this matchup, solely because it has been almost over a year, actually, at this point, since he has played at a top level, either domestically or internationally. And I know the desk mentioned that he was a former world champion, but he won the world championship back in February or March, if I remember correctly, 2017. I understand that you're still a world champion, but that is no longer relevant, and you need to prove that you've still got it.
Yeah, definitely do. And that's a lot of pressure that's going to be on XSET and NVK as well. But to finish my thought, Beast Coast, they got rid of Bio and Rudy. Again, two of their worst players from the last stage statistically. And they replaced them with Jay and young Alec. And Jay, more of an unknown, but young Alec, I do have a lot of high expectations for young Alec. I think he's got a ton of potential. Now, I'm not necessarily saying he's going to come out swinging like a Kino. We'll see. But I do think he's one of those young talents, young's in his game, I guess, that does have a lot of really bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely. Young Alec is somebody who had been talked about in Challenger League for quite a lot. And I will be completely honest with you and say that as we evolve to the NAL, my ability to follow Challenger League across all regions has gone down quite a bit. But the one name that always seems to come back to me is young Alex. With that said, Michael, let's not waste any time whatsoever. As you can see from the beautiful map flight on your screen, we are heading all the way to Mother Russia, and we will go to Kafe Dostoyevsky for the very first matchup of this stage of the North American League, the new look of XSET versus the new look of Beast Coast. And I am excited to see what happens. XSET's going to be starting on defense. Beast Coast will be starting on attack, and we'll start off with the operator bans first and foremost.
So let's see what XSET decided to get rid of on attack. It's going to be Thatcher. Nothing surprising there. You'll probably anticipate a Jackal ban or something, like a Nomad ban. Nomad's popular to be banned on this map. And you've got a lot of options if you're Beast Coast, frankly. That second attacker pick or ban is often changed around. The Thatcher's the only one you need. So the Flores is the secondary. Flores is good on this map. You can use him to get rid of the Electric Claw on the kitchen wall. You could use him to deal with a lot of indirect denial. Mira as the next ban, and probably a Valkyrie for this last one. I'd be surprised if it weren't a Valkyrie.
Well, prepare to be surprised.
I guess so. I mean, that's
Surprise!
cool though.
It's Wamai! It's not what you thought. So
This is gonna be this is gonna be a really interesting cafe with Valkyrie still in play. Now, you want to talk us through how Valkyrie is potent on this map, Parker?
I would love to, in fact. Valkyrie's greatest strength, Michael, is that she's got 3 pocket cameras that she can throw wherever she'd like. And yes, despite the fact that the pros and various why are they so small?
Oh wow, yeah, they changed it. That's actually
they're as small as Doki is.
Yeah, I mean, I bet he's happy about that. or adjusting to his frame of reference.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, they continuously tinker in the background, but what is Valkyrie's greatest strength, Michael, before I distract myself?
Cam's outside on... Oh, looks like we're going to get a rehost in here. The cam's outside, so you could throw Valkyrie's cameras outside, and on Kafe, this is especially relevant since this is Spawn Peak City as maps go.
It also enables runouts, and because of the way that Kafe plays, very similar to another map, which is actually no longer in the map pool, Consulate, is that a lot of action will likely occur on Rappel, and because of that, having cameras outside allow you to patrol what goes on outside the building. Now, I will say that while that was the meta for a period of time, it's no longer really the case. Most of the Valkyrie cameras remain indoors now. That was too low-hanging fruit, Michael. Thunderbird is available. She is out of competitive quarantine. Additionally, a change to Sledge. Sledge no longer has the SMG-11, now instead just having the pistol that all the other SAS operators have. So those are two stylistic changes that we'll see. Will Thunderbird get any play? Will this potentially hinder Sledge's pick rate? Those are the questions. The answers to them just in round number 1. There's no Thunderbird on the board, and there is a Sledge being picked by Anthony.
Yeah, I don't think that the SMG-11 removal from Sledge is going to affect much at a professional level. You really do need him for the hammer and the nades. We've got everything sorted out here, so we're going to get back into the action. You can see that there have been some changes to the HUD a little bit here. I really like that we have, for example, those bands there up next to the names. Now, as we load in, we've talked about some of the changes. Something that hasn't changed is, of course, Kafe.
My love for you.
Oh, and mine to you, Parker. The setups for Kafe are going to be much the same. I think one of the most significant changes is that ammunition count for a certain amount of weapons. It's just going to be different, I think, on how people end up playing things, but I don't know.
It'll be fun to watch. I mean, we've talked a lot as well about reducing ammunition counts for operators across the board and how that would have a profound impact on attackers and defenders who want to pre-fire everything, but also how it cascades from there. It's not even just about pre-firing, it's also about caliber-based destruction. You can very easily shoot out a wall with a shotgun, the bailiff, etc., but most rifles, whether they be submachine guns, assault rifles, pistols, etc., they don't exactly have the ability to do a lot of damage to walls. If you are Jaeger, for example, with your carbine, yeah, you can expend a couple magazines and open up a wall, but now with less ammunition at your disposal, you can't really do that. Anyway, changes to the HUD we will talk about at length, but let's get underway in the first 45 seconds as it's a downstairs first floor defense for XSET. They'll be defending the double kitchen spot and roaming quite heavily. As you can see, Razor did his famous disappearing act up top, playing Inside of Christmas. He gets pushed off when he hears the rappel come in from various players from Beast Coast.
Some damage taken, but nothing that significant. I mean, he's still going to be able to full clear that top floor. That's the main objective. You make sure you can push these players on defense down. Mission accomplished. You can see that XSET is still trying to play with fire. They're still trying to provoke a fight on that middle floor. This to try and mitigate the issues that will come when the attackers have that mid-floor control and they can start opening up from above on that site. Slow going here for Beast Coast, as they only just now start pushing top floor to translate that to mid. They had the control for a while, but they just weren't rushing themselves. And I can appreciate that. We've seen both these teams rush themselves and make mistakes before. And, for example, that could be one if it weren't the clone. But it is, and that's going to push out Razor. Nice kill, though. A double for XSET as creators get to C4 and Filthy starts us off.
All right, well, XSET 2 immediate kills on the board to take down Anthony and Fozo. Anthony has been the brightest spot for Beast Coast historically on this team. A high-flying performer, and not just on a sledge operator, but also capable of doing some significant damage. But the young man himself, Alec, taking matters into his own hands, punishing Filthy for that. As we've been discussing what we see, and a smoke goes off towards the back of Freezer, NVK has some difficulties with a drone, and he'll be pushed next from that spot that he's playing on in. Final 30 seconds now for Beast Coast to get things underway. They found one kill, a second will follow. Sipping through the window manages to help take down NVK as they'd pinched him, leaving XSET's full stead inside of the bomb site, waiting for somebody to cross them. Razor has a guard now, and they'll see the Jackal, a relatively easy kill. He's got some marks to follow up on, but no targets to be found. The 10 seconds left means that Beast Coast have to turn their attention elsewhere. And young Alec is doing his finest work. He catches Prod, and he's got one more as well with the pistol, but he takes it with the knife instead. An excellent 4K from young Alec. Welcome to the show, my friend, and what a first round to have.
Yeah, that is his very first round, and I mean, again, we always got to compare to Kino. He had his first round, he got an ace on Thermite, but here for young Alec, he gets a knife kill. I'd say that's about on par with a 3K to boot, actually a 4K. That's a 4K to boot for young Alec, with the knife being the last kill. We can extend that to, like, practically an ace. That's pretty impressive. The overall round, though, Beast Coast very patient on their top floor clear, and I gotta appreciate the fact that they didn't jump the gun when it came to translating that top floor to the site hit. They were patient, they were coordinated, and I think that patience is most specifically reflected in the way they chose to take their fights. A lot of that, what we just saw from Beast Coast, was them waiting for XSET to initiate the fight, and then just being ready for that fight. So well played to Beast Coast on handling those engagements. You could see their confidence brimming.
It was really fascinating to watch how XSET crumbled when that final push came in. Number one, the Maestro looking the wrong way. His attention focused over towards the freezer, allowing young Alec to just sail in sight unseen through the one area in the kitchen where nobody was watching. Additionally, NVK playing in the position inside a VIP. That's an all too common spot that we see people play all the time. But NVK had no real support, and for somebody who will indisputably have some ring rust, it's going to take a while for NVK to be able to find his footing, given that I think all he's really been playing at this level has been FPL on stream. This is a long time to go outside of pro play. I mean, we just saw Jarvis, who, mind you, Jarvis and NVK are very different players and have very different track records through their time in pro play, but even Jarvis taking half of a year off, coming back, showed that, well, you need some practice and you need time to get up to speed. So for NVK,
yeah,
you were in a tough spot. You're basically playing to die. The rest of XSET seem bamboozled, and well, with the new team, Michael, you know it more than anybody else. Comms can be a headache to get underway, and it's something that we've seen a number of teams in this league talk about on Twitter recently, about firming up comms being one of their main focuses for this stage.
Yeah, it definitely can be difficult. If you're a new player, sometimes getting integrated into the comm system your team has can be a real challenge, and I imagine that's something that NVK and Prod are both struggling with right now. But it'll give them a few matches, they'll get into it. It's the same thing for Beast Coast. They've got two new players in Young Alec and Jay, so it's across the board going to be a bunch of new stuff for these teams. I just, the real thing that I think I have to take away for the new player aspect for both of these squads is that for XSET, in my opinion, at best, we're talking about side grades. Whereas for Beast Coast, I do think that they got 2 upgrades. That's pretty significant for them. And, it's still early days for all 4 of these new players. I want to give them more time to flesh out. Just from the outlook, it generally looks better for Beast Coast.
Oh, that's half of the round now gone here in round number 2, and very minimal action thus far. The teams have exchanged words, but for the most part, XSET seems to be quite pat with where they're standing. First damage done on the board for XSET is NVK. Young Alec finds his 5th kill. It's onto Razor to start things off. And Filthy is down below. He's got his targets lined up, but can't connect the shots that he wants, so he'll scramble on out. XSET not wanting to go back down to the kitchen, so instead they'll defend the middle floor on the reading bomb site.
Yeah, I like this change. I think if you make a mistake, sometimes it's okay to correct that by going back to the same site, saying, oh, we know what we did wrong, let's fix it. But it was kind of a little explosion for XSET at the end of that last round.
They had the numbers advantage. They couldn't translate it. And this time around, they do not have that advantage in their favor. Beast Coast with the opening pick spells doom for XSET's roam game, but now you need to rely a lot more on those anchors. Well, 20 seconds left now for Beast Coast to find something and get it working. They're inside of the bomb site. Jay getting the plant down in the all-too-common default spot. Sounds like there's a grenade, but XSET is wonderfully played on the retake, managing to tear them all to pieces, Filthy in particular, as down goes Anthony, leaving Fozo in a 1v2. 5 seconds left to retrieve the diffuser, but he's going to walk out and take the fight instead. He's not going to hit anything. Clock strikes 0, nobody dies, 3 players left in the lobby, but that is okay because the timer gives XSET the round, and we've got a tie game.
Well played there to XSET, specifically Filthy. Big round from him, of course. Managing to stay alive, but also firm pillar control. That's a problem with Beast Coast when it comes to securing that pillar control. It's not actually that hard to do as the attacking team when you're dealing with the reading defense. You've got that top 4 control. You've opened up above. Okay, great. So why is pillar control so easy? It's because of the giant open hole on the top floor. You should be able to use that to convert really quite fast a pillar hold, and then you've got a nice platform to launch your attack into the site. It's not what we saw, though, from Beast Coast. Unfortunately, they were unable to do that. So well done to XSET. Filthy, again, specifically, holding that pillar hold. Not an easy thing to do, and he pulls it off.
You've got a hell of a debut so far for some of these players. Jay getting in, making space for his team, requiring XSET to turn their focus towards the diffuser being planted. The pivot for XSET very easily could have been their undoing, because you saw in round number 1, the pivot that XSET needed to adapt to by Beast Coast resulted in Beast Coast winning the round. In this particular instance, XSET were much better on the retake. They controlled pillars. They never lost control of the bomb site, despite the fact that the site itself was vacant. And they collapsed on the remaining players from Beast Coast. And in fact, it was the opposite of round number 1, where it was Beast Coast who simply didn't look like they had any knowledge of the setup from XSET. A nice turnaround here on the bomb sites, and so far through these 2 rounds, it's proving that these teams are as evenly matched as that consulate matchup back in stage 2 that we witnessed. So expect this one to go decently far into the night, I would say. Unless, of course, there is one side that has an upper hand, and when the sides swap, a team runs away with it. We've seen that before, obviously, but hard to tell at this point. Additionally, we've talked about operator changes. Mute has also seen a massive change that I think most people would agree is a fairly big nerf. No more do those Mute jammers go all the way to the top of the wall. That's why we're going to see Bandit come out, and Bandit, in fact, go down. Hopefully Filthy was able to put those batteries down, because he is punished immediately, and there's an early death for XSET.
Well, a little bit of a trade there, though, as Razor and Sippin actually kill each other. You don't see those very often.
We love
those
trades.
Direct trades. Yeah, it's very... I actually don't mind them. I don't know why everyone has such a problem with them, but with the trade coming in, it's still maintained advantage for Beast Coast, so they're in the better position now. And it actually gets worse and worse. It's compounding as XSET, they're losing gun after gun. They still have roamers, though, and Beast Coast don't seem inclined to actually clear the roamers. They're going to use the Nomad to try and hold those flanks, but it's, I mean, creators could do a lot of work from the bottom of round stairs here.
That he can. So we'll see if he's capable of doing anything. Keep in mind that Razor was one of the best pickups for XSET that we had talked about in the past, and obviously his position on the team will hopefully mask some of the naysayers upset with the fact that both Tommy and Drip were removed from the squad. NVK manages to get out of dodge somehow. That is a remarkable escape attempt, but it's not long-lived as Alec punishes him for that. 7-1 the scoreline for the rookie. This is an impressive showing. You talked about if he'd be possibly Kino level, and well, we'll see. Now Beast Coast getting the diffuser down. Creators is the next one. Under fire, playing in the back of Kitchen. By Prep, he's going to have to come out with Prod side by side. It's a full retreat for Beast Coast, as the timer will do most of the work from here on out. XSET at about 50 HP on both of their final players, but they are outnumbered in a 2v4. Prod will need to pick up 2 very quick kills, but he doesn't see the cross inside of VIP. That's Fozo to deal with him. And Creators will be left inside of the site. An almost impossible task as he sees the chasm in front of him and doesn't know where anybody is. Out by the APC, to the right by the actual bakery till. Who knows? Jay decides to push up and takes matters into his own hands, and Beast Coast finds their second round.
Solid round there from Beast Coast. Now, they didn't go for a full clear because they realized it wasn't really necessary. They focused their efforts on the site, a lot of off-site players for XSET, and as soon as you get that wall open inside a bakery, okay, pretty easy to convert that to the hit, and that's exactly what we saw Beast Coast do. They get that plant down, they play the post-plant perfectly. It's exactly what you like to see. One thing I'd like to also highlight is young Alec's injection into coat check early into the round. He gets a pick off of that. That's the lead-off pick for his team, and then he holds that control for the majority of the transition for the rest of Beast Coast, and they're able to then launch their attack into sight without worrying about crossfires. So your horizontal roam is nullified early on. Your vertical roam is irrelevant because it's just avoided by Beast Coast, and you're losing body after body after body. Everything's going wrong for XSET in that round, and they at no point attempted a course correction.
Well, troubling sign for XSET on those first 2 rounds, or on those last 2 rounds, surrendering that first pick, but being able to find their footing in round 2. Kitchen does not seem to be the most comfortable site for them. I would be surprised if they go back down there unless absolutely required. The good news with a map like Kafe. Even though Kitchen is a great site to defend, you can still very easily go to mining, or to reading, or up here to Cocktail. The third bomb site played by XSET will appear. It's the top floor bomb site. Teams will want to take control of the wings. If you can collapse upon a defender playing on white stairs and also hold control of piano and cigar, you're in a pretty good spot. Depending on the numbers advantage you have at that time,
C4.
keeping one attacker upstairs on that skylight can be particularly useful. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
There's a C4 pre-placed on one of these drops. I think it's the new one. Yeah, sounds like the new one. It could also be below. It could be underneath the drop, like on the floor. I'm not sure where, but there is a pre-placed C4 in there somewhere. So they might be timing it off the sledge. They were timing it off the sledge, and they timed poorly. Good on Anthony there for being a little patient with his hammer.
You hit the one sledge, or you sledge the one hatch, and then you count to 3, 4, and then you blow it, and you usually can kill the sledge, but
yeah,
alas, not exactly what they wanted on Anthony, who will live for now. Unusual to see Anthony dropping 0 kills through these 3 completed rounds, a 4th round underway at the moment. Given his pedigree on this team, he can be so influential. There's 2 players now on Beast Coast for repelling on the wall. That Razor is poised to greet, and he misses his opportunity, but gives his position away in the process, and he scampers off. Doesn't want to be hunted down, and that window could very easily be opened up. This is a position that we saw, for the record, at the Mexico Major, playing inside of the humidor, watching the drop with a shotgun available for you, as Fozo will now try to open it up to try and put some pressure on that exact spot that we talked about on Repel, but he can't really accomplish much, and he takes some damage in the process.
Yeah, those ADSs are causing a problem there for Fozo. He's trying to clear things out. There's all 3 ADSs stacked by the stage. There's a very different shield position being played here from XSET as they play aggressively inside of Piano off that shield. And Prod also on the Humidor, as you mentioned. This is a really powerful position with the mute, but the nade is going to clear out a lot of those chambers, allowing for droning. And what is this? A push-up from Fozo, and it's traded out, and even exchanged so far. So no advantage garnered from either team, but the control is slowly being whittled away here for XSET.
Prod is still in a really tough spot. The new Flash is showing off how potent they could be, and he is as good as dead. You can't evade them the way you used to, young man. Razor finds another kill for XSET, but they lose Filthy in the process. NVK and Razor, side by side, will look to retake, but they do not have control of the bomb site. NVK heading into back bar, but he takes damage from the Yana in the process. Cannot outduel Young Alec. Very few people have been able to do that thus far. Diffuser going down, Young Alec collapsing. He finds kill number 9. And now the timer will run onto NVK. Beast Coast looking mighty fine with these 2 additions. And Young Alec will break double digits. What the hell is going on? 10-1 through 4 rounds. We see you. We see you. You're doing great.
Yeah, I talked about it on the lead, and Young Alec is, I think, probably the most exciting. I think most people have actually mentioned this. He's probably the most exciting prospect coming into this lobby. I think that's a generally shared opinion, and he's proving why already. It's great to see players like him kind of come out swinging like this. It's going to be a tactical timeout here for XSET, and I understand that. Now, we're early on. Yeah, it's round 5 now we're going into. But at this point, it's already starting to look like you're losing control of the match. And the course needs to be corrected, Parker.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what you're going to do on a map like this when you're still trying to iron out some of the difficulties that you have on a defender-sided Kafe. I am curious to see if the operator changes make that sizable a difference. Obviously, the biggest one being that mute nerf, but I mean, also Sledge's fragging potential is down a little bit because he doesn't have access to the SMG-11, but I don't really think that's all that important.
The stuns, like we've already seen the stuns be useful. You mentioned it as it was happening, Parker.
You can't evade them any longer, by the way. So what changed was that if it was in close quarters, you used to be able to look away and it wouldn't work and you could turn right back around. But now it will flash you no matter what. It's just depending on your range to the flashbang, how long you're blinded for.
Yeah, and I think looking away does. I might be mistaken, but I think it makes a minor difference. But you're still gonna get flashed. Is the deal? And it used to be sort of like that. Like it used to be if the flash landed within 1 meter of you, it would still full stun you. But it's now much more significant. Like you can land the flash in the general area of an opponent, and now they're blind for at least a second or two, depending on the distance, as Parker mentioned. It's very powerful. And I think that change is actually underrated, especially at a level like this, where players are going to be able to coordinate their use of those flashes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a perfect example of it. Prod was as good as dead, and it gives you a lot more value out of those ADSs and magnets that could be around you. Now, obviously, with the Wamai ban, you have to rely solely on Jaeger. You don't have any other options unless you're Warden, and of course, the flash change could potentially be perceived as a buff to Warden, because now he has much more use. And I will also say that one of Warden's most played maps and sites is here on Kafe, on Cocktail. It's not uncommon for teams to run a Warden playing over by Pixel Spot, over by Bathroom, and trying to withhold and withstand against any smokes that might go off to try and take care of the walls or any flashbangs thrown your way. So that's a change that XSET could use as well, but everything seems to be par for the course in terms of what they're bringing to the field after this timeout.
Yeah, there's nothing too crazy. Although the flash change, I think, is part of why we do see the Wamai ban from XSET. You know, we haven't seen them go into attack yet, but I'm curious if they're going to be using those stuns in an interesting way. Find out when we get there, of course. The most interesting thing so far is really just Young Alec dropping those 10 kills. We still have 3 players on XSET, of course, who have breadsticks, as creators Prod and NVK. A donut, a single donut for Anthony, but that's probably because Young Alec is hogging all the kills. And this is, I believe, a reading defense. Yes, indeed. So this is actually the one site I believe that XSET was successful on so far.
Reading was correct. And despite that, Beast Coast were very quick to get into the site. Jay was attempting to get the diffuser down, but XSET snapped their fingers and really just maneuvered over by pillars, and they never forfeited that control of the map. Hit Young Alec's position right here, right now, by the way. Your win condition, if you're XSET, kill Young Alec. That's it. If you're capable of doing that, then the likelihood you winning the round will soar. He's been very formidable on this Yana thus far, and a grenade now will open up some of the floor, but will do no damage as there's nobody from XSET to receive it.
I think it's the mute jammer. That's the most important thing. Now you can open up that wall nice and easy, and they will do just that. Open Sesame, says Jay. As he runs away, he's going to take a lot of damage. That is tough. Put down to about 30 HP. But he's not been the fragger for his team. It's not an end of the world, and he did his job in getting the wall open.
Now you got clear passage into dining, but you got the floor shot out, so you're going to have to watch that because they'll be playing back from inside a reading. Fozo's the first one to die. XSET looking to replicate their success on this site from round number 2. It's the only time that they've won a defense thus far. Prod taking some damage might hinder their ability now as XSET are prepped and ready to greet whoever wants to push through dining, and I don't know what Filthy was anticipating there, but Beast Coast double up on their kills. NVK still unable to find one on that post, and he falls, leaving Creators and Razor to do the rest of the work. Razor above will have to spot where the diffuser is being planted by Jay. Creators trying to turn around, but Razor felled, spotted by Sippin, the second kill for the Ash. Both Jay and Sippin are on very little HP. Young Alec is only about halfway down. This is winnable for Creators. The Roni, though, will require a reload after a couple bullets, and it might not be the gun that you want to engage on multiple enemies. Almost the halfway point now for the diffuser, and Beast Coast look poised to do well, and Young Alex says, nope, I wanted to kill that round, I'm going to take one. Beast Coast pick up round number 4 through the 5 that they've played thus far. They indisputably win the first half, and XSET will look to salvage it on this final 6th round in their final defense.
All right, guys, a few things to talk about there. Let's start with Young Alec. Once again, I want to highlight him. He is the type of player that creates space, and he does so by his presence alone. Good job to him on the entry into Train. Once he got mining and Train control, East Coast followed him up quite well. He is doing great on the utility play, clearing out mute jammers for his thermite to opening the wall, and he's doing great on just winning his gunfights straight up. not overextending. You can see that he's a very competent player, and not only getting kills, but keeping himself alive. That is a important distinction that is often, we don't always see players come from where young Alex been and then suddenly actually know how to keep themselves alive. So that's a valuable trait. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight him again. He only got 1 kill that last round, but still an important player. And it's the type of performance from young Alex. If he keeps this sort of thing up, he's making a career for himself in the long term, and that's good to see. But moving on from him, XSET had almost every discernible advantage in that round. They had the positional advantage. They had firm control. Their lanes were being held. They just got walked in on. Parker. I mean, for example, that push for, I think it was Jay by 90, and he wins that fight with the guy in reading. That is a 90% win rate for the guy in reading. Like if you're losing that fight, there's a problem, and that's not. There's no strategy to that. That's just Beast Coast walked in on the angles, took the fights, even at the disadvantage, and still won them.
We talked about how they don't exactly throw Valkyrie cameras outside with the same propensity that they used to, but look at me eating my words. Let me guess. And let me tell you right now, they don't taste very good. So, some intel that Razor's going to have, and oh no, you can't do that. And you don't want to exactly trade your life for that one, as Filthy almost dies early on. I said that I don't know if we were going to see XSET go back down to the kitchen. Well, they do. But I think it's a desperation attempt because everywhere else has failed. And Filthy's still in the same position by Kochek, where he was punished earlier on. He had prod for backup, but Maestro doesn't want to forfeit his life early, so he escapes over towards the dishes, and he'll stay and watch Freezer. It's important that XSET understand where the attack comes from, because last time around, Prod seemed a little confused, and he got fed to the young Alec machine.
We'll see how many young Alex able to leverage away this round. Will he get the initial entry? Last time it was this defense, young Alec was easily able to access Kochek, and he caused a lot of problems for XSET. You could see that Filthy is not keen to let that happen again, and that's why he's playing so aggressively. Ooh. He's got the Maestro of Prod to support him from Whiskey, but Prod's going back and forth. He's not always staying in a position where he's exposed. And meanwhile,
half the round, by the way, Michael, and Filthy's the first to die. Young Alec, 12 kills, but Creator shuts him down. That's a huge kill for XSET.
Big. Yeah.
Don't know exactly where young Alec was playing at that particular point, but Filthy has been one of the best players for XSET, where nobody thus far has really been able to find the score sheet the way they need to. Everybody right now in the negatives. Well, that's not good for your Siege GG ratings. Oh my, Razor is prepared and ready to take out Sippin. He knows there's another lined up over by the fireplace, and he's going to get out of there. A Valkyrie with impacts to assist on the roam means that everybody else will have to do their job with those nitro cells that still remain, one of which is in the hands of NVK and is the only one left.
Yeah, this 50-50 push for Beast Coast has caused them a lot of problems. 50-50 as in 50 above, 50 direct. And oh no, Jay through the wall! But Creators gets his second from K2, and he's doing a great job of holding on to the site. It's 2v3 though, and Anthony's going to make it a 2v2. Looks like the positions are known for these defenders, as Jay is getting some good pre-fires in. Out goes the stun, but it's a push into Bakery with the pistol out. Razor the one to secure the kill. Anthony in sight. It's a reversed situation, but Razor another. And XSET will win their first defense of Kitchen.
Well, they won reading once, they win Kitchen once, and that's good enough for 2 rounds. Like I said, the idea is to try to keep it close, and that's what you've done. Once Beast Coast took those 4 rounds, you knew at that point that XSET were not getting out of there with any real hope outside of one final round, and they put it together when it matters the most for them. Now, there's no momentum, but hopefully it's been able to keep them from going off the cliff mentally. They'll now go on to attack. And once again, it is not abnormal for Kafe to skew towards the defenders. If that's the case, very troubling signs for XSET, as it's now Beast Coast on the better side. But we'll see exactly what they change up. Beast Coast obviously comfortable enough on Kitchen on attack, but now we'll see, can they do the same on defense? And they're going to bring a different look with a Capkin showing up, and that is something that you don't see every day, but he does have his uses.
That's interesting when you see operators like Capcan kind of rear their head and show some different siege. All it's going to do is slow down XSET slightly. Usually Capcan is brought as a reaction to his style of play, but you can see that Beast Coast knows XSET well enough to just bring it in advance. We'll see if it works. Looks like some light extension here from Beast Coast above. Probably going to see a light roam horizontally as well over by VIP. Code check maybe even into Bakery. We'll see. I think Beast Coast is feeling confident right now. I think they're going to be comfortable to extend a lot further than you might expect, and we'll find out in a moment if that's true.
I think you're absolutely right about confidence, but some of the times, the more that we see a team who is inexperienced lean into that aggressiveness, it can be their undoing, and there you go. That's how you do it. You don't pre-place the C4, you time it. The very first kill of this defense goes to who else but young Alec.
Yeah, and it's on to NVK, so if you happen to have voted for NVK's side on the community poll, I mean, at this point, we're at the halfway mark, and the score is what it is. I would be thoroughly impressed if this made a switcheroo, Parker.
I mean, NVK is 1-6. Young Alec is 13-2. I don't foresee, even if NVK heats up, I do not foresee Young Alec slipping that much, but crazier things have happened.
That's true. We'll find out. I'd like to see that. That would be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But anyway, the roam inside of Dining is actually going to be a retreat here for Beast Coast. They will fall out of that soft drop, and it gets opened up. And they're all the way back to the horizontal roam, now much safer, as they not only waste plenty of time above, but also get the lead-off kill.
Well, you see a small change here as XSET brings up a buck.
It's good
an
that
operator,
they did.
frankly, an operator whose presence in the current state of Rainbow Six is very sorely missed.
Yeah, I mean, and it's good that they brought him because they did lose their sledge, so that having that secondary soft destruction, now they can open from above without too much stress. It's very important.
They're just going to tear away at that mid-floor now, looking towards the bombs down below. Nothing can be accomplished for the time being. Also, a change on the hard destructor. Jay favoring the thermite will prod thus far. I'll bring the Hibana for this one round. We'll see if there's any changes to that, as every single hard breacher is still available. You can bring any of them, all four, none are banned. So really at this point, it's just about team strats and a stylistic difference between them. We'll see if they can do anything with that. Now, as we look towards the very final push that's going to happen, it looks like there will be a collision course between Anthony and Razor. And Anthony is playing over by VIP, still watching that drop hatch. And if he gets swung on from the stairs, he can very easily catch them. That'll be incumbent upon Razor to do some damage as Filthy goes down to Fozo, a grenade in hand. And there's the swing from the Capkin. Anthony connecting on 2 big kills, leaving Prod in a 1v5. Well, he's inside of the site, but this is a troubling place to be, as every single member from Beast Coast will be looking in your direction. 2 kills for Prod so far through these 7 rounds. Will he find a third? He's running out of time. He's got the diffuser, but he'll be vulnerable, and he knows that the round is effectively over. Their very first defense goes in their favor, and Beast Coast stretches their lead as they're up 5-2.
You see top left corner, hands up in the air, and that's about how I think most of us feel. Beast Coast, one away from match point, Parker, and the firm control it seemed like they've had throughout this entire match has not waned whatsoever as we transition to the second half. That last round, Anthony, wide swinging VIP, just want to highlight this. It might seem like a brazen swing for Anthony. Why is he swinging that? He's got the shield. That's pretty predictable what was happening.
Did you say,
there.
why are you swinging?
Why are you swinging, Anthony? No, see, actually, what I was trying to say is it was a very smart swing. I was just trying to explain why. It's a very smart swing because it's very predictable what's happening there. The stuns are coming in to clear your ADSs. You know the nade's going to follow up to clear out your shield because the attackers have to clear that out before they can make a push onto Freezer. And so Anthony says, you know what, if I just sit here, nothing's going to go my way, so I'm going to swing into the nade pole. And nobody is covering that. How is nobody covering that? There were like 3 guns from XSET on that. At least 2. I think 3. That's a problem. And well played to Anthony exploiting it.
10 seconds to go.
Overall, this Beast Coast team is showing greater depth than what we've seen before. You talked about how the upgrades for Beast Coast would help them, and the upside seemed to be higher just based on who they picked up. But one thing that we always do have to talk about when it comes to roster moves is that many times stats don't tell the full story. You can be the best performer on your team by a country mile, But if nobody wants to play with you, you're not going to be staying on the team for very long. Now, obviously, we don't know what happened behind the scenes with the players on either of these teams, so frankly, we don't really know why they were taken off of the roster, but a lot of people will look at it and say something as simplistic and as honest as, well, they were the best player, why would you get rid of them? Sometimes there's a lot more going on in the background, and all we can do is speculate. In this particular case, Beast Coast have made some very obvious upgrades, but these were the two worst teams in the NAL. So there's not a ton that we can really glean from Beast Coast's performance right now until, frankly, they play a stronger opponent. And right now, it does not appear that these changes to the XSET roster, through this first map, of course, have made a sizable difference.
Again, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of, like, again, just talking about the stats just a little bit, at best, you're looking at a side grade for XSET. And that's, you know, I think possibly we've accomplished that. I'm not really sure. Based on the performance we're seeing right now, I'd say we're going to need to leave it for later. Filthy will get the lead off. There you go. That's your top performer gone. Parker, you talked about the win condition.
You have to take young Alec out of the fight. Once you do that, you find yourself in very strong position. And, well, don't be too surprised right now if, well, the chances of XSET winning get even better. And look at that. Now, also, Sippin removed from action. Not a bad set of circumstances to find yourself in. Try to follow up on it now as a Nitro Cell goes out from Jay to answer back. Another Nitro Cell will connect, and so far, Beast Coast have kept it real close.
Yeah, the pressure's on Razor now to be the performer for XSET. And, you know, if NVK and Prod manage to get one kill between them, I mean, we're looking at another round here for XSET. They're going to be in a much better position, but we'll see. They haven't been able to manage much so far through this match. He's going to get rid of that clone, and okay, this is a little bit of stacking going on here for BC. They're way too much pressure put on that white staircase. They're going to need to rotate some of that around. MDK taking some damage before he actually gets into an engagement. That's not great. And the heartbeat sensor here from Jay is going to detect that there is a player in pillar. That's really big for Beast Coast.
In final 35 seconds now, teams tied at 3 apiece. Prod can taste the default plant spot, but he can also taste the metal being tossed out by Fozo, as Fozo very willfully feeds that to him and lines up in the same spot, playing off of this angle. A tight angle to play, and they have to expect it. Who's going to win? Prod wins. Razor does as well, and Anthony, the former best player for Beast Coast, maybe being overshadowed by young Alec, will now need to retake. Amidst that smoke, he sees the sledge, down he goes. They stop it in time. Oh my goodness! Picking up 2 huge kills. Can Prod be retrieved? Razor will play for himself as Prod scoots away. Anthony has no intel on where the Yana is. You talked about how Razor would need to be the one to salvage this for XSET, and he has performed quite well. Some noise made as the Banshee opens up. Anthony is running out of time, and he has no real intel. As he drops down, secures the kill onto Prod. He'll have to go onto that diffuser at some point. Razor is very far away. He's rotating over towards 90, and this ring around the Rosie will result in the final 2 seconds of Anthony now on that diffuser. He needs to stick it, gets off, does some damage, but Razor is still upright. There's no time left. Excellent play from XSET, holding that numbers advantage and being able to reclaim the site. They'll take their 3rd round.
Razor played that as perfectly as you can. So the reason he goes so far back is because there's obviously information devices on that diffuser. Razor knows he has the information, and all he needs to do is play out the clock. Anthony played that about as poorly as he could have. He gave himself a chance, certainly. That first 2-piece, that's great. Fantastic. Good for him. But then after he got the initial 2-piece, he made no attempts to gain ground. He made no attempts to find the final player. He made no attempts to even possibly stick the diffuser. Really, he just kind of meandered about and waited for the round to end. So well done there to Razor, clutching that one out. He played it, again, perfectly, and there was, again, no counter attempt made by Anthony.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Upstairs to Cocktail now. Beast Coast will go, and so far, we've been treated to the seesaw game that we thought would happen, and for the moment, at least, the attackers have the upper hand in regards to map sides. So Beast Coast have their work cut out for them. Cocktail has only been played once thus far, so there's not exactly a lot we can take from it, but it was a pretty strong round from Beast Coast. Almost a flawless round. Young Alec walking in and bulldozing everything in sight, and afterwards it prompted XSET to take their timeout. Now, Beast Coast still have a timeout available as well. XSET's coach is Jarvis. He was on the active roster after Drip was removed last minute, and they had to make an immediate roster swap. As for Beast Coast, they announced Mark the Shark, former player for Disrupt, now known as Astralis, Mark is the coach for them, and we'll see if at any point Beast Coast are going to want to take their timeout. I suspect that if XSET prevails on the next 2 rounds, tying things up at 5 apiece, that's when Beast Coast will hit the panic button, but let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. We'll see how Cocktail plays out, with XSET running the same lineup that they've been favoring so far.
Slow going early on here. We've got the top in control of the attack, so they're going to start opening up those drops. They'll start putting pressure on a Cigar and Piano. Kafe, if anything, is a predictable map. We've established that. There's nothing too surprising about anything that really happens in terms of the flow of the round. Now, NVK is going to be the first casualty in this round, and that means he will not get his second kill on round number 9. And that's going to be a good pick there for Fozo.
A really disappointing return to pro play for NVK. I think we can all agree at this point. 1 and 8 on primarily fragging roles is not what you want out of him. Now, obviously, with XSET's lineup, there is space for everybody to contribute, but if you pick up NVK to take over for one of the 2 players who fragged well on XSET, he needs to be doing a better job in that role. Yes, kills don't tell the full story, but when you are playing that sledge or you are playing that mute and you are holding down pivotal spots, and oftentimes you are the first point of the spear, you need to be able to get your frags, and it is hurting XSET that they are not able to rely on that 5th player right now.
It's definitely going to be a problem in the long run, but it's not the only problem. I mean, still have Prod. He's got 3 kills. He's doing slightly better on support roles, mind you. But he could definitely be having more of a performance across the board for Beast Coast. They've got a contribution from every single player. And yes, Young Alec is the star of the show. But there's nobody dropping any particular slack here for BC.
I think that the Gon 6 kind of looks like an alligator.
It kind of does, yeah.
Kind of looks like an alligator. What it needs is an alligator skin. Ubisoft, you're welcome.
Please.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
Filthy takes
free.
out Young Alec. By the way, that win condition again falls early. This is a mirror of what happened in the previous round on Repel. Filthy punishing Young Alec. And this is the thing with a player like Young Alec. Yeah, you're 13-4. You're doing a hell of a job, and you are the best player in the lobby right now, but you can't be getting too cocky, and you need to play it cautious. That's something that comes with time. That's something that comes with leadership. Now, you've got some depth on Beast Coast. They'll fight back. 2 of their players, in fact, getting in on the fun, and the numbers for XSET dwindling further as this 10 seconds will turn into a brawl. And it's a clean sweep through the final 4 players. It was a 4v4, and then it was an OV4. Beast Coast moved to match point.
Yeah, okay, so frankly, anybody who's played any kind of competitive Siege is going to be able to observe what happened there that last round. There's not a whole lot to... Yeah, look, even they're talking about it. It's like, why are there 3 players on Nubalk? Why are they... You got 4 players alive. I don't know where the 4th was, because Anthony killed him pretty early on into the engagement downstairs. But you got 3 of your 4 players on new balcony. Nobody covering from Cigar. Nobody covering from Piano. There are lines open you can hold from Piano. There's options available to you. You can make pressure down White. That everyone just funnels into new balcony? That's your strategy? So, Beast Coast, line them up, knock them down, and match point.
Well, an incredible performance thus far for a couple different players on Beast Coast, and it's nice to see Anthony getting back into the swing of things as well. He was the best rated player for Beast Coast in the previous stage, and well, you might be overshadowed in this particular matchup, and maybe some small role swaps. And the way that they play around those players mean that you don't have the same offensive upside that you had before, but you know what? The team is doing pretty well. As for XSET, you talked about in the previous round, there's a lot of things that they need to work on, and they're going to be hitting the books after this one. We'll see exactly if they can keep this one close, but they've got their work cut out for them at this point, as now Beast Coast goes back to the bomb site that they won back in round 7. This is a kitchen defense for them, and they're going to look for the knockout blow here against XSET.
You know, I do want to say for XSET's favor is that Razor has very quietly put together 10 kills. The thing about those 10 kills is that many of them are not that influential. I mean, you look at the round count, it's pretty easy to tell. A lot of the kills that are available to XSET as a whole, I mean, only 15 really had any significant impact on those 3 rounds that XSET won. And even then, not so, because they didn't get all the kills in many of those rounds. But it's you know, it's still at least something. There's a redeeming quality here for XSET. There's some ground that they can work on. And I do think that between the two new pickups for both of these teams, XSET's new pickups are going to take the longest to integrate. That is just a fact. You talk about the experience, you talk about the older players, and, well, those players take a lot more time to find themselves comfortable because they have to unlearn things they've learned before and relearn new stuff. Razor, look at this play. Oh, no! Not like this!
How does it not work?
What? Razor. You're supposed to be the
Did he get...
He got swung. Oh, no.
Oh, and the disrespect paid in chat. That's a demotivator. But if you're XSET, you got to keep your head in the game and not tilt on that one.
My attachments are hecked, he says.
Sure.
That's a solid excuse. I think he had... I'm using sarcasm, by the way. I think he had the correct
Are the attachments your eyes, son? Because that quote from Guardians of the Galaxy comes to mind, where if I stand completely still. But we'll see. That's one for the replays, obviously, as that's half of the round now in the books, and Young Alec gets a relatively free kill as he pivots and murders Razor in cold blood. The best player for XSET down for the remainder of this round, and what could be the remainder of this map is not the start that you want if you are XSET.
Yeah, and I think... So we talked about this match going in. From the last stage, this is billed as the two worst teams in North America currently. Going into this stage, I think Beast Coast are trying to make a play for not being that. They're trying not to be one of the top bottom two. You could see that reflected in their play. They're a lot more on top of things. Creators is going to take some damage. See attempts to push in through VIP Hall. Although, look at this. Prod has dropped into white. He's in freezer. That's a good position.
And they'll have to do something with it, as it's a nice shot from Creators onto Fozo to even things out. But Anthony's playing this pixel angle held by the shield inside of VIP, continuing to creep backwards, his back posted up towards Whiskey, and he managed to get through the wall. Only 10 seconds remaining. Prod getting that diffuser down, and they'll need to retake. NVK finds his second kill, Filthy with one as well, but Anthony shuts down Creators. Diffuser goes down, Anthony is down for the count, and I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden everybody is dead, and XSET takes the round.
Wow, that was great from XSET. That was really good. I'm so happy I have something that I can say nice about the attacks we've been seeing from XSET so far, because most of their attacks have been pretty bad. That one was fantastic, though. Well coordinated, well positioned. I know they lost Razor early on. Let's just kind of skip over that. Let's pretend that didn't happen for a second, because there's a lot of positives to discuss about XSET's attack following that initial casualty. So they get that top 4 control, they get that mid 4 control, they open up above. Now, not only did they open up above, but they used that top floor control, Parker. They used those holes they opened up from above, and they get their push past the VIP hold, through freezer, into bunker. Default plant is open. Let's go, XSET. Following that, you expect a counterplay to come out from Beast Coast, and it does. But it's your basic counterplay of let's walk through the lines that are being cut and hope that we don't die to the players cutting the lines. And that did not happen. XSET got their kills. They cut off those rotations. There is no denial for the plant. Post-plant is held well, even though they lost their white control. Everything goes well for XSET there. You love to see it. That's a good attack. Solid attack, Parker. Well thought out, well put together, good teamwork.
Absolute chaos after that diffuser gets planted, but, I mean, chaos reigns supreme, and XSET are able to channel that chaos, that organized chaos, so to speak, and, well, both of these teams obviously have shown improvements, and I think that XSET obviously have their, have a lot more that they need to work on, as Beast Coast was the worst team in the previous stage, and you're right, this was billed as the 2 lowest rated teams in the NAL, and they had made some sweeping changes, and we were going to immediately see if there had been any improvement here. Now, like I said, it is tough to talk about who has improved the most when your competitor is also another team that has gone through some major changes and, well, really hasn't been as strong historically. Go up against one of the top-rated teams in NAL, and if you can keep pace or win, then obviously those moves seem to have paid off. Right now, what I will say is that even if these two teams remain the worst teams in the NA League, they have at least made some sizable improvements, but Sippin is sitting in a very exposed spot under the skylight, and NVK just walks to the skylight, gets the kill, and walks away, and I don't know if Sippin was aware of that blind spot or his positioning.
So if he's not aware of it, then shame on him. If he is aware of it, then shame on him. Either way, early pick for XSET. And Beast Coast find themselves in a position where they fight back. Anthony's going to take some damage as well, but look at that. Down goes young Alec. That is really a crushing blow. It's traded out by Anthony, but again, young Alec, he's that performer. Now, he's gone a little bit quiet on the second half, I will say, and a lot more pressure is being shifted to the rest of Beast Coast, so this is not the end of the world. The real problem for Beast Coast is that they find themselves a player down, regardless of who that player happens to be.
Went from 13-2, Michael, to 14-6. So 1 kill, 4 deaths over the last 5 rounds, or 4 rounds, so to speak. The fact that he was able to amass so many kills, I think it was 10 or 11 kills on the first half on attack, is really an impressive thing. But like I said, this depth for Beast Coast that we have talked about a couple times throughout this match, and I've made mention of, is showing up. Anthony will now break double digits for his team. Only the third person in the lobby to do that, and the only player still alive with that tally to his name.
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, the quietest players are the only ones still available for XSET, so we're going to have to see some things change here if XSET wants to keep this from being, well, over.
They're lining up for that default plant spot that we talked about before, and a flash is going to go in. Fozo cannot evade it, but he dances around the frag grenade as Prod pulls out that diffuser and gets smoked by Fozo. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And another from Fozo as well. NVK is the last one here. He'll need to win a 1v3 to keep his team in it, lest Beast Coast take the victory. Return of the King has not been what we expected, and Beast Coast steal the crown away, and they win 7-4.
Yeah, no, Parker, if anything, this is the debut of the young king, young Alec. What a match from him. Beast Coast as a whole, though, as you mentioned, Parker, and I want to bring this into limelight again, the depth on display here for Beast Coast is impressive. I really do think that they've made some upgrades. I feel like they're looking a lot more confident in their play. It feels like they feel more comfortable. I can't tell because I'm not in their comms. But well played to Beast Coast. A big win there to start off the season.
Oh, absolutely. An indisputably better showing for Beast Coast, but, I hate to be the guy to say this, but they were the worst team last stage. You can't jump out of a basement window, so expectations are going to be set quite low. The good thing is that even if they were set relatively high, I would argue that Beast Coast exceeded the expectations that I think we had for them, and certainly exceeded the expectations that I had. There are some promising signs for both of these teams, and improvements have definitely been made, but so far today, Beast Coast really stood out as the team that seemed to figure it out relatively quickly, and XSET are the unfortunate losers in that altercation.
I mean, frankly, that went about as the way I would have expected. It feels like a lot of the changes that Beast Coast made from the last stage kind of went, nothing but up. As you mentioned, Parker, you can't jump out a basement window. For XSET, I do think that XSET's roster changes can very much pay off in the long run. But we're not in the long run. They made those changes very recently, and it's going to take a lot of time for those two players to integrate fully into the roster, especially MVK, who, again, he has to relearn a lot of stuff. He's been on a lot of teams. He's been playing for a long time. Very different.
Absolutely. 3 players make their professional play debut, and one of the members of the old guard, a former world champion, came back. It's obviously a different story for all 4 of these players, and we've got an analyst test to break it down. But before we get there, a break is ready for you. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back. What does it take to call next? Follow us for a deep dive into the Rainbow Six community, breaking down barriers, taking you behind the scenes, and showing what it means to level up.
Introducing Insights.gg. The best way to improve your performance is to review your VODs, and Insights.gg has all the tools you need in one platform. Record, collaborate, review for free. Check out Insights.gg today.
Coming into stage 3 with a brand new mindset, Beast Coast finally looks like the team that we've expected them to be for so long, and it feels so good to see it happen. With a 7-4 win over XSET, Beast Coast are going to be victors, and we actually have an interview with one of the red hot rookies, and I can't wait to talk to him, young Alec, who's been tearing it up. Alec, that was a crazy performance, man. First things first, I want to say welcome to the NAL. You were popping off. So I believe it was by round 6, you were 11-1. For your first professional game, what was going on in your mind when you jumped in the match? And then what was going on in your head when you finally realized that, hey, I'm the real deal and these guys can't hang with me?
Well, I knew that I was going to do well since I got to Vegas, so I just was premeditated. I already had all mapped out in my head, so I already knew it was going to happen. I knew we were going to do well, even though we've had a week and a half's worth of practice with each other, just because of traveling and all that we were going to pull it out, and we knew that we were going to get 3 points today.
Right, so I was actually talking to Crux on Twitter, and he says that coming into stage 3, you guys have a brand new mindset. You're a new team now. What can you tell me about this new look Beast Coast that is going to change my mind and everyone else is out there to believe that you guys are coming to win this stage?
Well, our whole squad is extremely hardworking. We're dedicated and more than ever motivated to get top 4 and make the major and qual for invite.
Yes, I love to hear it, man. Call out that top 4, manifest it, own it. Please don't ever stop, Alec. Now,
Nope,
stage 3,
never.
you guys actually have a bye for tomorrow. I like that. You guys have a bye tomorrow, and next week you play against TSM. Let's be honest, those are the top dogs. They're such a good team, a Titan in the NAL. Do you feel comfortable about that matchup? Have you guys been prepping for that at all?
Yeah, I feel very confident that we have a very good chance of winning next week and the game after, the next day.
Alec, I'm going to be honest. I love your attitude. I love your gameplay. I'm going to leave this last moment here for you, just like I do everyone else. Tell the viewers out there, because they were popping off in the chat for you, how much you love them. Thank them for tuning in. And give them a little something to look forward to next Playday when you're back on the main stage.
All right. First of all, shout out to my team. They're extremely hardworking. I love all 5 of them. Mark, I met him 2 weeks ago. Love that guy. He's a great person, great coach. Shout out to my mom and my nana. They're my biggest supporters, and they support everything that I do, and I couldn't thank them enough.
Well, thank you so much. Shout out to your mom for raising just
shout
a
out to the
gutter
Beast
in
Coast
Rainbow
fans.
Six Siege. She knew what she was doing. Oh, shout out to the Beast Coast fans as well. Alec, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on this
Ride the
interview with
wave.
me. And
Ride the
I
wave.
can't wait to see you next Playday, man. Ride the wave,
Thank you.
baby.
Thank
I'll
you.
catch you next time.
Catch you next time,
No
brother.
problem. Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you at home, this is why the NAL is the absolute best. You have confident newcomers, confident rookies that come into the league and take it by storm. You saw with Iconic, you saw with Kino, and now with the player like Alec, who put us all on notice now, the fellas, Jesse and Jacob. I really like this player in this Beast Coast roster.
I love what Beast Coast have the potential to turn into. This is one of those teams for a long time that was built on potential. Can these guys gel? Are they capable of playing when the stakes are way higher and they're not in Challenger League anymore? And the answer through one game so far is yes, though it's only one game. I'm not about to get ahead of myself, but already the energy that these guys are showcasing makes me a believer already. I put it on Twitter already. I'm young Alec's #1 fan now. This is the new reality, and we're just living in it.
Who is this kid? Walks in, drops 100 kills in his first game, says, oh yeah, all premeditated. I knew it was going to happen. I mean, I know I'm the best.
He's a prophet.
What? Man is coming out here. And he said, what, week and a half of practice too because of all the travel they had to do?
That's the insane part to me, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
But it's not only that, Jesse. It's the fact that he says, man, I just met my coach a week ago.
Right?
We just jumped in this game ready to win, and they did exactly that. But I'm going to be honest now. The way that he carries himself, just the swagger that Alec has. I mean, we saw a little bit of that in his attacks, Jesse, because that first half, he made it look way too easy.
I mean, Alec was just tearing the whole stage apart, and I really did think that Beast Coast in general looked so much better on attack. Even not just like saying that it's Alec. Like, Alec's going to be the one that people focus on, but I think the whole team really stepped up in that first half. I think that Fozo was really pushing at the right moments. I think that the way that they were able to work together, Filthy even was having some really fantastic moments too. So, I mean, obviously going for XSET, but like they shut all that down, right? There were some solid plays on the defense from XSET with Filthy or with NVK even when he was able to stay alive, but always it was shut down by Beast Coast, and that was so insane to see.
Jacob, anything you got to say about Beast Coast, man? That was a great first game of Stage 3.
I mean, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I love that they're very confident. Like, that just exuded from them the entirety of that map. But it was fantastic to watch. There's a couple small mistakes that you can shore up. You can probably do a better job on your top floor clear as a really big point of concern. I thought there were plenty of rounds where they were going to lose on attack because they weren't doing a good job of getting the roamers out of position. But they were winning rounds in spite of that, which is the really good part. There's consistent IGLing on the back end, which I'm going to assume is Jay's responsibility for right now. I'll get clarification on it later. But if it is, that just means everyone on this team gels. They're already understanding how to work with one another. Adding Jay back into the picture when he used to play for this Beast Coast roster probably is a sign of really good things to come as well. So for Beast Coast, this is cool. Remember last time they had a really good stage
Jacob,
start when they beat TSM
Jacob.
and then didn't do anything else? I don't want this to be a repeat of stage 1 for Beast Coast. I want them to keep this momentum going. Trust me.
You just have to poop on the whole situation, Jacob,
look,
man.
come on, man. I got my prediction wrong. What do you want me to do?
Right, but if there was one thing that we were going to be just ecstatic about just for weeks to come, right, until this stage ends, let's take a look at what happened round 1. Fellas, I mean,
Yeah.
what is there to really break down? Like I said, rookies coming into the NAL and taking over just by force. Alec put the whole game in his hand from the beginning, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, Alec was really tearing this one up. Obviously, this was one where he was able to run and get the 4K, get the knife kill. I mean, Jacob, this is the type of play that you just don't expect from a new player.
Yeah, it's young Alec creating space right off the bat. It almost looks like they're about to lose this, but Jay's got a cross. He's able to help a little bit from Freezer's side, which gives Alec the distraction he requires. The wall gets open, he comes right in, knifes creators around the side of the wall. That's just showing you what he's able to do when he's got a little bit of coverage. It's not Alec by himself. It's the rest of the team giving him the space to operate, and his agency as a player is already phenomenal simply based upon his spatial awareness. So the fact that the wall gets opened at that second forces the player on Bomb Chassis to rotate back around. Alec can sprint in one, find the knife kill, 4 kills on his very first round in his very first program, and it just spiraled out of control for XSET from that point forward.
And Kick said, you know, it's not like Kino, it wasn't an ace, it was only a 4K, but the knife counts for 2, okay? That's a technical ace in my books. I'm counting that.
And he ran in and punched the last guy in the face for the win. But when it came to round 4, fellas, I mean, still, the heat continued on. Jacob, you want to break this down for us?
I'll let Jesse do it. He had a really good point on this one.
This is the one I wanted to highlight with the rest of the team really coming into things and making the swings happen. Look at the swing into Piano. It's a minute left. They don't have any ground, but they just walk in anyways. There's a guy in Cigar. There's people that could be playing inside a back bar. So Fozo just walks in with perfect timing, gets the kill. Sure, he's traded, but it doesn't matter because he's making that space. Now the Cigar guy really has to worry about what's going to happen to him. Watch once again, Alec, who else could it be? Turns around for a moment, the flash will stun him, and he gets just domed immediately. It's crazy how fast this is happening, and this is match point too. Watch Fozo again, down to the bottom floor, swings the 2 players, and single-handedly makes this round go in the favor of Beast Coast. The fact that he's able to go for that push and make that happen, countering the guy who's watching for the plant, beating the guy actually planting, incredible stuff, and the timing from Fozo I thought was really good in both those rounds.
All right, it's great in time now, fellas. So we talk a lot about Alec, but there were 3 other new players in this lobby on both of these rosters. I mean, fellas, how do we grade them right now? And the one thing I'm gonna say to start things off, you know what? It's really good seeing NVK back in the lobby, but NVK had a very rough time. And to all that, I just have to say welcome to the NAL, baby. What are you guys' thoughts on what happened?
So XSET's 2 pickups I thought at the outset would be really good, but I think I agree with Kix's point about there will be a lot of time needed to get these guys integrated into whatever system XSET's trying to run. NVK died early, lots of rounds, played soft destruction, which I think was pretty expected. It was either going to be him or Razor playing a sledge role. Filthy stuck to his, he stuck
Blank
within
watch.
the the flank watch role. But the cool part about that is it meant that NVK had more freedom to operate, but still died over and over again. If it was window repels, if it was nitro cells under a hatch, it felt like he couldn't get impact because he was not allowed to get started. He was shut down very frequently. So for him in his NAL debut, that is not the way that you want to kind of restart your career. Prod wasn't going to be a flashy player. I wasn't expecting him to be. He stuck to the anchor and the hard breach roles, which, I mean, he didn't play that in Challenger League, but I do think he can still create impact, especially if he's trying to IGL a little bit more. Both of XSET's pickups on paper should be really good, but this game was not a showcase of that.
I want to say, like...
Oh, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, I think for MVK, like, obviously he didn't do well. He was dying early a lot of the times, but, like, it did feel like he didn't really get the best shot, I think, to prove himself. Like, there were a couple of times where he just got, like, domed on a window, like, 30 seconds in. He would have gotten just, like, slammed by a C4 as he was entering the building and getting ready to tear up the floorboards. Like, it's hard to counter these types of plays, and when it's just Beast Coast playing well to make these opportunities happen, yeah, maybe MVK should have been a little bit more careful to keep his life alive for, the second half of the rounds. But I want to see more rounds where we can actually see NVK survive and have an impact.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully we'll see that next play day. But fellas, we had a community poll. It's felt so long ago since I've said that last time. But this one, for game one, all eyes are on these two newcomers. Will MVK return to his rightful throne, or young Alec pop off in his first game? We know the results, but Jesse, while you're making that face right now, who do you think won this poll? This might be harder than you think.
I think anybody who picked NVK in this one is feeling pretty bad about themselves right now, and we'll see what percentage of the community was sleeping on Alec. I might be in that camp, unfortunately.
Jacob, was this unfair to rate pit the worst player in the lobby against the best player in the lobby?
Oh, I mean, to be fair, no one knew what the lobby results are going to be before we started, but I think all of the old EG fanboys from back in 2020 are probably looking to see if NVK could do something good today, so I think he won the poll, even though he didn't win the game.
Was just about everybody in North America rooting for NVK, but the winner was actually 80-20. NVK, listen, he didn't win the game, but he has to be the king at something. He's going to be voted right there to win. And honestly, Jacob, how weird is it to see NVK in the XSET jersey? It throws me off so bad.
It's not weird to see him in the jersey. It's weird to see him on the stage when he hasn't competed for a competitive team since the EG days. He tried his luck elsewhere outside of Rainbow Six, didn't work in his favor. And then when he came back, I did expect more. But credit where credit is due, XSET looked like a better team. They just kind of got run roughshod by the young Alex show in this game.
Yep. It happens when you go against young Alex. Shout out to him once again for his phenomenal performance. But ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, I expect this game to just be just as good, if not even better. We're going to have Space Station Gaming with their latest pickup. We're going to talk about that, by the way, facing off against Mirage. We'll see you guys on the other side of break for some more